right, so I kicked in recording. Okay, so recording has started. Okay, so I'm not gonna repeat, what I just talked about. About the breaks. So we will be taking either 1 or 2 breaks for five minutes each, or if you're taking one break, so that probably be 10 minutes, so that to give you guys some some time to stretch out and then we'll reconvene. So the cadence of this class is there will be one class per week, and that class will be 2 hours of duration. And like I said, most of the time, we will be doing, the hands-on work. I ask you guys to, fill out the survey form to help tailor this class. And based on the this survey so far, the results which I got is um, it's a mix which I got. The um, One is majority of the people, they want me to run hands-on demo, and also go with the certification focus, and share my personal experiences on my with the cloud. So I will be incorporating all these things into the mix. Also, majority of the people do not have experience either at their work or in personal use. They do not have any direct interaction with the cloud. I'm gonna So if you do not have any question, please ensure that you are muted, because otherwise it will create disturbance for the rest of the folks here. Okay, so I was talking about the cloud usage. So majority of them answered that they do not have any direct interaction either at work or in personal use of the cloud, of any of the cloud form. Also, the operating system question, which I asked, majority of the people have Windows operating system. There is a small subset of our students here. They are using Mac OS, and there is one user which is using Chrome OS. So the person who is using Chrome OS, if you stick around, maybe after this training, I just wanted to confirm a couple of things from you. And those who have Windows operating system or Mac OS, they are good to go, for this training. Okay. All right. Moving on next. So this is an overall agenda or a rough agenda of what we are going to cover, during this 8-week journey with you guys. I'm going to discuss and go in depth about the cloud concepts. That will be mainly theoretical piece. This is I feel that this is mandatory to ensure that everybody has their base set up. Once we have the foundation set up, then we can build upon our expertise on top of it. One more request I have from you guys: if you feel that I am going very slow or I am going very fast, just unmute yourself and interrupt and let me know, and I'm gonna set my pace accordingly. Okay, so on the understanding of the core services, this will be extensive hands-on labs that we're going to be doing. I'm going to be talking about compute, storage, network, database, and then the security around that, and the management of your cloud ecosystem, and monitoring of all these important or the critical services. And if time permits, we're gonna go deep dive, or we're gonna maybe touch upon the advanced topics, which is infrastructure as a code, IEC, or AWS CLI, or or any of the the critical AWS service, which I feel that may be of importance for you guys. So we're gonna put aside maybe the last hour of our last lecture, or maybe last two lectures for this for these as advanced topics. It depends, how fast and how quickly are you grasping all this information. Okay, whatever you call it, code of a day or talk of a day, just keep this in mind, and this, or maybe a mantra of the day. uh, Life begins at the end of your comfort zone, so you have to step out of your comfort zone. If I am sitting here teaching you guys, um, I did, I would not say struggle, but it was challenging for me to come out of my comfort zone. I am an introvert type person, and sharing the knowledge with so many people, and giving them confidence, and making them comfortable with the with this contemporary technology. It took me a whole lot. So always keep this in mind, that the faster you come out of your comfort zone, uh, the better would it be for you, and the good learning for you as well. Second thing is, giving up is the only sure way to fail. So there is, keep this thing, maybe remove this thing from your dictionary, um, that giving the word giving up, or the word failure. Um, you have to challenge yourself, make sure that you are challenging enough to learn new technology and learn new stuff. As they say that the and I normally quote this quotation, the um the definition of literacy for the 20th century or the previous century was person who knows how to read or write their name. But now the definition of literacy is a person who could learn, unlearn, and relearn this stuff, and that is 100% fits for your in the technology area as well. So whatever you like, the the pace the technology is moving forward, how fast paced the technology is. If you compare your past 5 years with now, you would be surprised to seeing that so many things have changed so far. And that goes with the technology as well. So whatever you learned, let's say 5 years ago, 10 years ago, that may not be relevant now. So you have to unlearn that, and then relearn something new, so that you could be could stay relevant within that technology realm. um, so uh, always be on seek for learning new things. Always you always should have an appetite to to learn new stuff, and learn the stuff which will take your career, or take your growth to the next level. I always insist people to try to find their niche, and then excel in that. As an example, let's say if I could make $100 an hour, why do I sell myself for, let's say, 25 an hour or $50 an hour? If I if I have that capability, if I do not have that capability, why don't I build that capability on in myself, to make more than what I am currently being sold for? So always strive for the always excel in the area. I think enough of a sermon. Let's proceed to the next one. um all right, I'm gonna mute everyone again. Okay. All right, so there are a couple of disclaimers I would like to, bring up here. So this training is an overview of cloud fundamentals, and we're going to focus on AWS, which is Amazon Web Services. So we're going to be logging in, going deep dive into the Amazon services. This is, focused on the Amazon cloud side. IEC Hosseini will not provide any training certificate, and the AWS certification or the cloud certification prep is all yours. Um, I'm here to assist you in whatever form or shape, but it is your responsibility to register for the exam and and write the exam as well. Um, Although AWS free tier account, it looks free, but not every service falls under that. And I'm gonna be specifying it specifically to you guys that what services are free, what services, if you work on those, you may incur charges on that. So I'm gonna be emphasizing whenever applicable, on that area. Okay. Also, if you obtain the free service account and you assume the responsibility and you assume the risk, so IEC or any of the trainer, we do not bear any responsibility for credit card charges or damages or disruptions happen to your laptop or computer system. Um, I'm going to be emphasizing, in the bottom 2 points more and more as we go into the hands-on side, that how to keep yourself under the radar and do not get charged for any service that looks free to you, but eventually you find out that there are some credit card charges. So once we go do the hands-on, you will see more, or you will hear me speaking more, in that area. Okay. All right. So a couple of housekeeping stuff. One is, like I said, keep your mic muted to avoid disruption to others. Unless you have any question you want to ask, please, feel free to unmute. Otherwise, keep the mic, muted. Also, turning on camera is not mandatory. If you wanna ask any question, you're more than welcome to turn on the camera, or even during the class, you can turn on the camera, but it's not mandatory. Um, I kept my camera on because I don't want you guys to feel like that you guys are just simply looking at the slide deck, or somebody has just recorded and then I played the recording for you guys. Also, type in your question in the chat. And since I do not have any moderator, so I may be overlooking it for a while I am, teaching you. So as and when I get time, I'll look into the chat and, answer your questions. And I'll respond to your questions, when applicable. If I feel that, the question is not relevant to that topic, what we are discussing, I may be skipping that question, or putting it on a back burner for a while. And when I feel that this is the right time, then I'll answer the question for you guys. Okay, so before we start, any questions so far? Okay, alrighty. So let's move on and let's dig right in. Okay, so cloud and what is the life before the cloud? So before the cloud computing, so traditional businesses, they used to have, and they still have, invested quite heavy on the infrastructure. Like, they either they have the server rooms in their, in their office buildings, or they rented some space on the data centers where they have their servers sitting. They make heavy investments, in on their, on the hardware and the software. and managing it, from end to end, from hardware, servers to the network, to the cooling, and electricity and everything, this whole thing, that requires a lot of money, and that requires a lot of investment, and that's what the life was before the cloud came in. And along with the infrastructure and all that, you have to have a team of resources, like the facilities guy, or the systems admins, or the DBAs, and the entire team, or the security team, to not just only install, configure, but also run the test, and update that, and then after 5 years, you have to refresh the hardware as well, because hardware goes end of life. Now you have to make a hefty amount of investment again. And then so this actually, this cycle goes on and on and on. And if you just multiply this effort, with hundreds and thousands or dozens of applications running for your business, I would suggest you do the math and find out that how much capital is required, how much resources are required, and then what if you are running a very niche application for your business, and you were not able to find a resource to support that, or maybe to write that. So there were all sorts of challenges that were before the cloud. We To sum it all up, there's a terminology of finance which is called capex, which is the capital expense. So you put aside, or you invest heavy capital to have your business running. The other terminology, the opposite of the capex, is opex, which is operational expense. And companies, now they are moving, from capex model to opex model, and we're gonna discuss more, as we proceed along. So life before cloud was very tedious for the businesses, and very finance heavy. That companies have to spend like crazy amount of money on those on those resources and infrastructure and all that. Um, and plus, the human resources, to run and support, the entire ecosystem. Okay. So pre and post, pre-cloud era, the infrastructure was, we have the data center, and then, inside the data center, we have the environment that we need to, create for the data center, which is, the perimeter security, because, the most important commodity which is sitting in the data center, other than the human resources, is the customer's data. So just to secure the data, or they have the perimeter security, and then the floor space that they need to purchase, and also the cooling and HVAC, those all fall under the environment. Let me mute again. Okay, so the environment is the area where you have to make heavy investments, and ensure that they are running in a pristine condition. Um, Along with that, organizations, they have to spend crazy amount of money on components as well, which is the core components are the storage, servers and storage and network and security gear and the management tools. These are, five of the critical ones. But other than that, there are several other ancillary services, the firewalls, and load balancers, and several other things which organizations have to invest heavily on. um, so these are the the pre-cloud era, or pre-cloud days for for organizations. Can I ask you to mute yourself, please? Because Your speaker is causing an interruption for folks here. Okay. All right. On the right hand side, you are seeing the data center, different types of data centers. So there is a corporate data center. Um, I am sorry, but I have to kick you out because your mic is coming off mute again and again. All right, sorry for the interruption, guys. So there are, three major types of data centers, and they are, even in the current cloud era, there are organizations which still maintain because of the security reason or because of, several reasons, various reasons, that they don't want it to, go into the cloud. Either their applications are legacy or they do not have support staff, to support into the cloud, or their footprint is way too small, or it could be security reason, or it could be that they have already invested heavily in the data centers, and they cannot just simply make a shift, into the cloud. So there are three major types of data centers. One is the corporate data center. So what corporate data center is, that any organization, any firm, or any corporate, they have, you know let's say, find a warehouse, and they build the warehouse, and put their enormous amount of servers there, and they are using that area, or that facility for their own purposes, that their applications are residing in the data center, and um, uh, their infrastructure, it's all sitting there. So their all their corporate customers, they're connecting to it, either utilizing those applications, or building the application, or building the functionality on those applications for the firm. Second type is the managed service providers. They are the ones which they invest heavily in the data centers, and instead of an organization to build their own data center, they just go in there and have their, or uh, uh, e- either rent out the space in that MSP. The MSP is, or managed service provider. They are managing their physical hardware and everything, and those companies or the organizations, they have their data, or applications residing in there. These are the ones which MSPs are the one, uh, they took the load from the corporate or from the organization, that instead of them managing it by themselves, the MSP is managing the data center for them. Third type is the colo or co-location. It is like that you have a small cage, or cage, or a specific area, or certain number of tiles, where your racks are sitting. That you rent it out, from either from the data center, or from the MSP. So instead of having the entire data center for you, based on that company's or demand or requirement, they just picked up that space, and put their infrastructure in there. Okay. Infrastructure deployment models, there is on-prem, hybrid, and cloud. On-prem, as we saw, previously, the corporate data center is one example that's on-prem, that they have it within their physical reach. And then hybrid is, it's a mix of that, and then cloud is, and then the cloud is, where you outsource your everything, your entire infrastructure, and pretty much everything which is which you were maintaining. You just outsource it to the cloud provider, and cloud provider is just giving you the access through the network, to build your application, or store your data, or do the manipulation of your data. You do not have to worry about the underlying infrastructure or underlying hardware there. Okay. Now, so the previous, the couple of slides which I ran, that was like pre-cloud, or organizations that do not utilize the capability of the cloud. But cloud, what is a cloud? What is a definition of a cloud, and what is the purpose of a cloud? Maybe I'll ask you guys, before I go in, do I have a volunteer who could, maybe tell me what do they think of a cloud? Feel free to unmute and answer that question. Anybody? If you are not able to unmute yourself, maybe just raise a hand, and I'll unmute you.
I can say the cloud is a place where you store your data.
Okay. All right.
On-demand computing resources over the network.
Okay. Anyone else?
Yes, maintenance, cost efficiency.
Okay. Maintenance, cost efficiency. Okay.
Can we say it's like a data center without a physical location on the internet?
Okay.
Yes, I can explain it with an analogy.
Yeah, sure.
Let's say you are partying at your home, and suppose your preparation is only for 10 people. Now, what if 1,000 people flock into your home? What will you do? Suppose your website is built for 1,000 visitors. Now, if 1 lakh visitors visit your website, what will you do? There has to be some solutions.
Okay. So you think cloud is the solution
Cloud
for
home
that?
for that.
It's like a data center available for the many users online.
Okay.
Cloud is used to save data.
Cloud is using the same data. Imtiaz bhai, can you?
Instant,
Yeah, go ahead, Adnan.
no, instant infrastructure readiness.
Okay. Instant infrastructure readiness. Okay. Imtiaz bhai, can you elaborate on your point again for me, please? I cannot hear you. I don't know if it's just me or other guys as well. Can you come closer to the mic, please? I'm sorry, Imtiaz bhai, I cannot hear a single word. Looks like you're coming out way too far, several hundred miles apart. Okay,
Can you hear
I
me
see.
now better?
Little better, yes.
Accessibility of any from anywhere.
Okay, perfect. Accessibility, anything from anywhere. Awesome. Okay. All right. So we have, everybody's answer was correct. So the base definition is, I wish I have the NIST definition of it open for you. Um, so cloud is, there are, couple of, majority of you who answered what cloud is, you guys answered the capability of the cloud, majority of you. And everybody was correct, on those capabilities. And we will see those capabilities, sorry, as we, proceed along. So what is a cloud? It's a, in a layman's term, is to access the resources, access the critical resources that are not close to you, but you access them over the internet. What are those critical resources? They are compute, the CPU. Compute covers, the memory, the CPU power, and then, there's storage, and there's the security. So these are, the critical ones which we access over the internet, where over the internet means that it is residing in somewhere which we do not know. We at least know that we can um, access that over the internet, but that resource could be residing maybe next door to us, or that resource could be residing several thousand miles apart from us. And the capability of the cloud is, where the resources are residing in, that should be transparent to the end user. We do not have to worry about where that thing is or where my resources are residing at. I should not be worrying about. What I should be worrying about is, um, am I able to access that? Am I able to access that specific application? Am I able to access, my data, or am I able to, upload my data, or, however, the capability, I am using. So, the layman's term, if I dumb it down for you guys, the layman's term uh, definition of the cloud is critical resources that could be accessed over the internet, irrespective of where they are residing at. That's the cloud. Now, as you guys talked about, the capabilities, if I may touch, a couple of them, like one of the brother mentioned about your website was able to handle 10 users, and all of a sudden that load went 1000. What's going to happen? That my application may crash. But that's the capability of a cloud, which is called elasticity. So we can um, expand the capability when the demand increases, and then when the demand decreases, we can go back to our original state. So that's the elasticity or elastic capability of the cloud. There were a couple other examples. So as we proceed along, we're gonna be seeing more more of those capabilities. Okay. All right, so if I move on to the next one, cloud models. So there are.
Alaikum, Faisal, I have a quick
Yeah,
question.
yeah, sure.
Faisal, just wanted to ask a question for bringing a little more clarity, just as we are building foundation. When you say adding more resources, or what cloud gives us is the ability to quickly increase resource, or just providing resources.
Mm-hmm.
What exactly is considered a resource in our setting? Is it just computer or storage? Can you just highlight that piece?
Yeah, so it could be CPU, it could be storage, it could be number of computers, it could be number of databases, it could be anything. That's where the elasticity is required. Um, so it could be yeah. There are several avenues of bringing in the elasticity. And as we proceed along, we will see that specific area in depth.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Faisal.
sure. Okay, all right. Cloud models. So there are actually three main cloud models, and these are the ones which are currently in very much in demand. Um, One of them is the infrastructure as a service. Second is the platform as a service, and third is the software as a service. And we're gonna see more details on those cloud major models. Um, so IaaS, PaaS and SaaS or SaaS, they call it. So these are the major cloud models that how the cloud resources are divided across. And there comes a concept of shared responsibility, that up to what level the cloud provider has the responsibility and who has the responsibility on the rest of the stack. So in IES model, just to give you a very brief, and we're gonna go deep dive in in coming slides. Um, IES model, the cloud provider has um, pretty much half the responsibility of the infrastructure. I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to mute Mosi uncle. Okay. For the IIS capability or the IIS model, the cloud provider has bigger control or bigger shared responsibility than the end user or the customer. In the past model, it's about 80-20. And then, in the SaaS model is about, I would say 90-10, like 90% is the cloud provider, 10% is the end customer. And we'll see more, in that details. In the IS model, the infrastructure, which is, virtual machines, servers, storage, load balancers, networks, that is all cloud provider responsibility. And anything that is being built on top of it, on top of the virtual machine, that is the responsibility of the customer. Like what OS do I pick? How do I install the application? How do I configure this application? How do I configure the security around that? And then how do I access that application? And where do I put my data in the in that application? So these are all the responsibility of the customer. And in the past model, let's say the cloud provider, they provided you either the execution runtimes or the database. They will be responsible for anything running underneath the database, like how to maintain the storage, how to maintain the availability, how to maintain those virtual servers underneath it or physical servers underneath it. So what they do is, they assume the responsibility of anything underneath it, but how do I put my data into the cloud and how do I access the the database, and what model do I use? It's my responsibility to to manage that, or the customer responsibility to manage that. And then SaaS on top of it, SaaS is the model where everything from application all the way to the very very bottom layer, it's all the responsibility of the cloud provider. Um, the customer responsibility is to put the data, how to access the data, and how to secure the data. That is the responsibility of the customer. So these are the three major cloud models. And I'm going to talk more I believe in the last or the second last slide about the certification, what certifications are currently available. But this is a very common question if you are going for foundation certification, AWS foundation certification. It's a very common question that is being normally asked. It's not just only the AWS foundation certification. Let's say if you are going for Azure foundation certification or GCP foundation certification, you would be seeing at least one or two questions around that. What is the and that is mainly around the shared responsibility model, that what is the responsibility of the cloud provider and what is the responsibility of the customer in IaaS, PaaS, or SaaS models. Now that there's a new thing, not very new, but recently introduced compared to the other models like IaaS, PaaS, or SaaS. This new capability is called serverless computing. In the serverless computing, what happens is you do not have to worry about anything underneath it, and like the entire end-to-end stack. You do not have to worry about anything. The cloud provider provides you the capability to simply just put your code, and the amount of time that your code runs, you just pay for that specific amount of time. let's say if my code ran only for, let's say, 5 seconds or 20 seconds, and the rest of the day is just sitting there. So the resting period of my code, I do not have to pay anything. But um, for the for the execution time, let's say if it's 20 seconds or 20 hours or 2 hours or whatever, the amount my code ran, the amount of time that it ran, that's the time which I have to pay. So I just have to pay for that, that compute time of my code. So this is the new capability, and it has gained a lot of popularity. And uh, uh, where the industry is going, that all the organizations, pretty much, majority of the organizations, they are moving to the serverless, because, they do not have to maintain any underlying infrastructure. They do not have to have any resources. Let's say, I do not need any system admin or DBA or anyone to maintain my IS infrastructure, or any software guy to maintain my, SaaS application, or DBA to maintain my databases and all that. Since I only have the code and it runs, when it gets triggered, it runs, and I just have to, pay for that time. So all I need is, a good level of, software coding guys, who could write the code, and then, maintain the code for me. Along with these, three or four, the base models, there are some specialty models as well, and there are some companies who actually specialize in that. And that their specialty area is, hey, you know what, we do not worry about anything else. We just, provide, that capability, like database as a service. Oracle has, that DBAS service, where you do not have to purchase anything from Oracle Cloud. You just have to, purchase, or you're just, getting their, database capability. Or disaster recovery as a service, that, if my organization has set up a DR setup, so instead of, managing the whole infrastructure, I purchase that service, and, the DR as a service, niche company, they just, handle that load for me. Compliance as a service, let's say, I am working, let's say my business is deals with the, financial institutions or financial sector. Then, I may be needing a firm who could help me out on compliance, let's say PCI compliance or PII compliance or any other industry compliance. So there are companies who just specialize on that specific area that help me, run that compliance as a service for me. So, Asterisk as a service, it could be anything, that could be run, as a service. Okay.
Can I
Hey,
ask one
quick
question?
Yeah,
question.
sure. Go ahead.
I guess the question is like, maybe we are going to come across that later in the training. Are we talking about enterprise level companies or middle range companies or small businesses? Just to have an idea, like I understand nowadays all the data needs to be secured, and so there's something managed by just big giants, or small companies can also, like, maybe collection companies can they do this on their own with their IT experts or something?
Yeah, so no matter what size you are, a small size, medium size, enterprise, or a startup, or maybe a mom and pop shop, or maybe somebody, running a business from their, garage, just one person shop, cloud is for everyone. No matter you are a single person shop or 500,000 strong shop. So anything, size doesn't matter. Size of the organization doesn't matter, because there are startups. They may have only two or three resources, or maybe just one resource. Who the person who's just building something. Something on a unique idea, and so the person might not need resources to help and support. So it could be one person, and they have everything into the cloud. So no matter what size of organization it is, the cloud is for you. I hope I answered your question.
Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Okay. Any other question before we move on to the next topic, or the next slide?
So what's the con of not actually going cloud and versus on-prem?
Um, so there are, there are different areas which we could discuss here. One is you are investing heavily as a capex onto your servers and onto the infrastructure. If you go into the cloud, you may not have to pay for everything upfront because cloud has a pay-as-you-go model, and so you will preserve your the cash with you instead of investing heavily and finding out that I invested heavily on on the infrastructure, which I utilized maybe 20% of it or maybe 10% of it. The remainder of the capacity, I'm just giving it away or just sitting there collecting dust. That's one con. Second is maybe you are investing heavily on the maintenance of your application and which is running legacy, and you did not make any effort to move it to the cloud to cope up with the demand. You must have seen, just as an example, random example, there are organizations, their digital shopfront is not as robust as the other competitors they have, or they're still they are not utilizing the cloud capabilities for their collaboration. They're just using their the legacy one legacy system. So these are some of the examples that may that go actually because of because that you have not explored the the cloud model. You're just just stuck there with with the on-prem model.
Makes sense. Thank you.
All right, sure. Okay. All right. So moving on next, uh, let's just say, although this example, there are certain companies which which do the work for you. So homework as a service. While I was at school, and I tried, and a couple of my friends as well mentioned about that there are services like study.com or check.com, or there are a couple other, they do the homework for you, or they do the assignment for you. You just put in the question or put in the request there, or find out, let's say it's economics or computer science or whatever, and they majority chances that they may have the answer for you, or the solution for you. So homework as a service is just another example of specialty model. Cloud solutions, this is just a list, and it is not only specific to this. You could have cloud in the telecom area, or the healthcare, or retail, or power and utilities, storage and archival, backup, startups or websites or mobile services. Um, the utility of cloud is virtually unlimited. You can have a cloud solution for pretty much everything. Cloud providers, there are several cloud providers out there. I just put an example of 5 or 6 of them here. The reason why we focus on AWS on this course, we could have choose Azure or GCP or any other cloud provider. Amazon still leads the market. This number, you see the $100 billion or a 33% market share. That was back in 2019. This number still holds true, although Microsoft is catching up, but they still have time to catch up entirely. Amazon has a bigger market cap. That's why there is a demand for Amazon, and you get certified, you get trained in Amazon or AWS. There is a fair chance for you to land a decent job in cloud side. And I'm going to talk more maybe today, or in our next session, the what type of positions a person could get. It doesn't have to be a technical position. There are cloud sales positions, or cloud, project manager type roles, or cloud financial services type roles. So there are um, uh, the uh, the portfolio is very vast. Um, so among these cloud providers, Amazon leads the market. Then we have the Microsoft Azure, then Google as GCP, IBM has a cloud, and then Oracle's. Actually, it's not OPC, it's OCI. Then Alibaba has a cloud as well, and there are very small players or niche players in the market as well that they came up with their cloud offerings. Okay. Cloud movers and shakers, on the right hand side, you see that, it's a magic quadrant of August last year, where you see that, Amazon, leads the market, still leads the market. Microsoft is catching up. Amazon leads it in two ways, like their ability to execute. They are by far, at the top on the y axis, and on the x-axis you see that their completeness of vision, um, the number of services Amazon currently offers. It pretty much completes their vision, not 100%. They Amazon is a company that churns out service very aggressively and very regularly. You may have seen a service, zero service at this time. Maybe a month or two down the road, you might find, oh, there's a new service there. As an example, when we had this course this past summer, which is about 6 months ago, uh, there were some services which were non-existent at that time. But when I was updating this slide deck, I find out that there are some additional services I'm seeing. Also, they change quite a bit on their UI as well, or their console as well. So things have changed quite a bit. So, and same is the case with Microsoft, or Google as well, whatever, the service, let's say Amazon introduce anything, let's say any AI service or AI related service, chances are that Microsoft has about to offer that, or may have already offered that already, or maybe, they are offering around the same time. Okay, so before I proceed on it, let's just take a 5 minutes break. I know that I've been speaking quite a lot here. Let's just take 5 minute break. So right now it's 8:13. Let's just reconvene back, at 8:18. Okay. So I'm gonna set the timer for 5 minutes here. Okay. I can take questions if you want to talk about anything, or if you feel that I am going too slow or too fast, or any other question, concern, comment that you have. Okay, I'm just going through my the chat here. Ali mentioned cloud is not on the site. Ali, I did not get your point here. Was it in context of the definition of the cloud, which we discussed?
Yeah, he put that into chat when you were asking for the definition.
Okay. Okay. I'm gonna put you guys on mute. I'll be back shortly. All right, I'm back. I think we'll start on it now. Hope everybody's back as well. Are you guys able to hear me fine? Would anybody let me know?
Yeah.
All right, perfect. Okay.
Yes.
All right, so let's just go deep dive into AWS. What are we going to cover? And I'm going to talk about that in detail. As we did the introduction to cloud and then introduction to AWS cloud, we're going to go deep into that. We're going to talk about the key concepts, about the regions, availability zone, and all that. And also, we're going to get some understanding of the core services, which is compute, storage, database, network, security management, monitoring, and then internet gateway, the network side of it, the VPC, EC2, EBS. Do not get intimidated by the jargons which I am currently taking or talking about, the EC2, EBS, IAM, Route 53. Rest assured, we're gonna talk in detail about those, And once we complete this entire course, you will have a very deep understanding of all these concepts here. What is IAM or what is EC2 and what is the key pair security groups and all that, because we're going to be doing uh, very extensive hands-on lab work, not just during the class, but I will give you assignments as well, so that you will get a very deep understanding on those. Along with that, we're gonna you know uh, look into the cost management or the AWS cost calculator. How do we calculate the cost of our on-prem, and then how do we compare it? How Amazon gives us the comparison for all those services into the cloud. So it's a very extensive and very nice tool to have to build the expertise on. And the bottom two are the advanced topics, which we're going to discuss in our last classes. One is the command line. We'll just we'll walk you through the basic navigation, how to set it up, and how to do the whole thing through the command line. The console is the one which is the graphical interface or the web-based interface or the UI of the Amazon web services. And command line provides the similar capabilities, where you do not have to go into the console or click and be done with that, but it is more like you write the command, push the command, and it does the work for you, similar way as you do into the console. And then we're going to talk about the mass scale deployment, which is IAC. I will talk about one of the tool which is called Terraform. And I'm not gonna go very deep dive on that. We'll see if there's a need, then maybe another course we're gonna offer to just discuss about this IEC capability and Terraform. And there are certifications that are offered by Terraform. This thing is IAC, infrastructure as a code, is very much in demand these days. And majority of the organizations which I work for or customers which I work for, they normally do not go into the console. They utilize the capability of IAC, which as the name suggests, infrastructure as a code. So what it does is you build the entire infrastructure of your entire cloud infrastructure, by writing a code. You do not even have to go into the console, do anything. It just, does the entire purpose for you. So you can build upon everything, and you can, destroy everything as well, with just, one single command. It's a very powerful tool, very much in demand. Very powerful capability to have, in your resume. Okay. Next one is the AWS global infrastructure. How AWS has set up their infrastructure. How do they have it's not just only the AWS, but all the cloud providers. They have the niche in that infrastructure area. They spend several hundred millions, and at times I believe Amazon has spent several billion dollars, and same goes with Google and Microsoft as well, several billion dollars into the infrastructure. And there's a terminology called economies of scale. So keep this in your mind, and I'm going to talk more in coming slides. So how the AWS infrastructure is set up is, you will get these the slide deck as well. So Amazon has strategically put their data centers at specific or different locations around the globe. It's not just only in the US, but it is around the globe. Let's say you are accessing it from Singapore, there will be a closer location, in Singapore for you. Let's say you are accessing from Pakistan, there will be a closer location to you in Pakistan or India. Same case, let's say you are in South America, there will be some location, somewhere in the South America for you as well. you know, person, you know, accessing from African country, let's say South Africa or Nigeria, there will be some, you know, location, you know, closer to them as well. Same goes with Europe as well. Um, so here you see what you are currently seeing. That picture might change tomorrow, or that picture might change 6 months down the road. Um, in any of the exam, Amazon normally does not ask you to remember these numbers, because these numbers change, not very frequently, but they change, you know, frequently as well. So mostly in the exam, they ask you, or they judge you based on your understanding or the concept that you learn. They normally do not ask you any of the cloud provider. They do not ask you questions, and this is all, you know, for the foundation side or maybe one level above. They do not ask, you know, assume you to remember, you know, those names or those numbers, but you know, you are being, you know, questioned on the concepts. So global infrastructure for AWS is, they have at this, you know, up until, you know, the time of, you know, the building of this, the slide deck, they have 24 regions, out of which, you know, each region has, you know, multiple availability zones or AZs. And I'm going to talk about in my next slide what is a region and what is an availability zone. And they have 6 announced regions, and also 77 availability zones. How this number 77 availability zones is changed is, back in summer, the number was 70. Now it's 77. So they added 7 availability zones within 6 months. 5 local zones, 2 times more regions, and 245 countries. Also, this number was 200. I think it was 230, or something like this. But now that number has changed to 245. Then, you know, 220 point of presence, out of which 210s are the edge locations, and we'll talk more, you know, in those, about these here. Okay. This is a very important key concept, uh, for not just for Amazon, but for any cloud provider. Regions and availability zones. Um, very You probably will get, you know, a couple of questions in the exam, and also it's very important to know for, you know, for the job perspective as well. Very common interview question as well. What is a region? What is an availability zone? So and they may give you, you know, one region name and ask you, you know, where it is located at. This is, you know, mostly common, you know, interview question. As we have seen in our previous, you know, slide, that, you know, Amazon has strategically put their, you know, data centers across the globe, to cater the, the needs of their customers, wherever, you know, they are located at. So, you know, they have, Amazon has, you know, or AWS has, you know, is hosted multiple locations worldwide. These locations are composed of regions and availability zones. So region is a bigger, or it's a region is a 20,000 feet overview, and then availability zone is, let's say, 5,000 feet overview. So in one region, let's say there is a region called Ohio, or there's a region called Eastern Europe, or there's a region called Singapore, or there's a region called Mumbai. So that specific region will have at least minimum of two availability zone. And what is an availability zone? If I dumb it down for you guys, availability zone, or AZ, AZ is a data center in that specific region. So let's say there is one region where Amazon started their business, or AWS started their business. The first region, they call it North Virginia. So in Virginia, they have 3 data centers, And these data centers are called AZ in a cloud provider terms. So Amazon has minimum of two data centers or two availability zones or two AZs in one region. So here, if you see that, you have one big region here, and then inside that region, there are three AZs. And these AZ or availability zones, they are interconnected with high speed network pipes, uh, like high throughput, low latency network pipes that actually connect all three data centers, all three AZs in each region. So each region is completely independent from other region. So let's say there is one region Amazon picked, they call it Ohio region. Another one which Amazon picked is North Virginia region. They both are completely independent of each other, although they are interconnected. Those two regions also they are interconnected with high-speed pipe, but um, the each region has its own data center or has its own AZ, which is independently working. So if I go into the console and select a service, and let's say if I picked EC2 service, and or let's say if I build a Linux virtual machine or Windows virtual machine in Ohio region, that machine will not be visible to the North Virginia region. So they are, although they are interconnected, but they are they work as they work independent of each other. So how this helps is, let's say in North Virginia we have three AZs. Um, so those three AZs, they are interconnected and they are replicated internally. And once we go into the service, we will see more what is the key purpose and what is the capability of, or what is the value prop or value proposition of the interconnectivity among those AZs. So each region is completely independent from other region, right? And that helps the fault tolerance, or let's say the HA capability or the DR capability for your applications. Um, and also, within that region, you have, the availability zones or AZs, residing in. So each AZ is isolated, but AZ in each region are connected through low latency network connections or network pipes. That the throughput is it's like a fire hose, that you get a burst of water coming out of it. So because of the high throughput and low latency means that the round trip time of packet from one AZ to another AZ is in either microseconds or very less among the two AZs. So that actually gives the capability of replicate the data or replicate your service among those AZs. So in a layman term, AZ is a data center, what we saw the pre-cloud era. So Amazon and other cloud providers as well, they call this their data center as AZ. How they set it up is, and I'm gonna let me just show you here. So when you go into the console, you will see that US-East-1A or US-West-2B or 2A. So how does this, naming convention, pan out, or how does this naming convention, or what does this naming convention tell you? The first two, um, um, the the first two parts of the of that naming convention, that defines the region, and then the last part that defines the AZ. So if I see this US dash East, US means as United States, dash East, it is the eastern region or eastern side of the United States, and 1A, which is the first availability zone, and out of those, 3 or 2 or 6, whatever it is, right? So if I just go to the next one here, you see that US East North Virginia has 6 availability zones, or 6 AZ. So Amazon has 6 data centers or 6 AZs in North Virginia. How they are named as US East, like US for United States East is the East region, and then one is actually, for North Virginia. This is the first region where Amazon started their offering services in the United States, and then A, B, C, D, E, F. These are the 6 AZs, that Amazon has, in that specific region. So US East 1A, that tells which region it is, which country it is, and how many AZ or how many data centers Amazon has in that specific region. As an example, on your right hand side, you see that Asia Pac, or in Japan, APAC region, in Tokyo, they have 4 AZs. So how they have defined is AP for Asia Pac, and then Northeast, 1 A B C D E. So sorry, A B C and D. So there are 4 AZs, in Tokyo region. If I go to the next here, so you see that in Canada Central, you have they have CA dash Central 1. Let's say Amazon has only 2 AZs there, so it will be CA dash Central 1A and 1B. Let's say in Mumbai region, they have AP South 1. Let's say Amazon has 4 AZs there, so it will be AP South 1A, 1B, 1C, 1D. Okay, so this is how Amazon defines their regions and AZs. So as you practice more, excuse me, as you practice more in the console and in the CLI, you can just simply look at it by the name, and you can tell if it is located in in Europe or in Asia, or which part of Asia it is, or which part of Europe it is, or which part of US it is. I'm gonna pause here. Did you guys understand the concept here, or if you have any question on this? Because this is a very important concept, not just only exam standpoint, but also for you to practice when we go, practice the console, and start building the services, and also for your job perspective as well. Okay, all right. So if no further question, then we can proceed. So this is the list of services Amazon offered. This is pretty old, old picture here. It is 2019. It is actually 2018. So since 2018, I would say the number would be in an upwards of 6 or 7,000 by now. The way Amazon is churning out services very aggressively. So this is just to give you an understanding that how many services Amazon offers, and like Amazon Lex or Lambda or AWS Snowball or Snowball Edge, tons and tons of services, and we'll go and deep dive into all those services in our coming slides. Okay, so service offerings, you have the URL here, amazon.com/products, and this is what Amazon offers. Now for us, because of the size of the because of the duration of this class, we're not going to be covering all the services because they are enormous in numbers. So we're going to be picking the critical services that are required for you to 3 purposes: for you to learn about the cloud and get comfortable with those services and with the cloud. That's one purpose. Second purpose is for the certification standpoint, that what services are going to come in the certification course exam. And the third one for the foundation specifically. And the third one is for your job perspective, for your interview purpose or for your job purpose, what services I feel that will help you, talk comfortably during your interview or your discussion with your team or with your manager or with your boss. Okay. So here, what we're gonna be looking into. Let's see. So here, we're gonna be doing hands-on work on compute, hands-on work on storage, security, identity, and compliance, and databases. So these are the areas where also management and governance. These are the areas where we're gonna do very extensive, hands-on work. Other than that, if time permits, I'm gonna just, simply go in, into other services and, show you how things are, laid out and how things are, being set up there.
There's a question specified in the group.
Yeah, can you come closer to the mic, please?
There's actually a question that I'm seeing.
Okay, in the
about
chat.
the region. Yes.
Yes, yes, I said that, there are in every region there has to be at least two AZ, minimum of two AZs, and maximum we have seen is six AZs. There is, I did not see any region that has one AZ, because that kills the purpose of, high availability. Because as we proceed along, we will see those services. Amazon guarantees, service level agreement or SLA on each service, and each service has, specific reliability numbers and specific durability numbers, and that requires Amazon to have at least minimum of two, AZs in that region. Okay, I hope I answered your questions.
So during the lockdown pandemic, was there? I'm sure Amazon went high on their AZ. Was there a rapid need to increase their AZ? Because a lot of companies went virtual.
So, Samira, your voice got kind of muffled. So what I understood is there's a need for having more AZs because a lot of companies are building in that area or in that region.
I was just asking, like during the pandemic time, was there like a rapid change in Amazon, offering their services more aggressively because businesses had to either close or, I mean, I use VPN for my work to work from home. So I guess the numbers went high for Amazon. It was like good business time because of the lockdown.
Yes, yes, exactly. So COVID had changed. So here's the deal. It's a very good segue. Before COVID, my company's not just intention, but our motto was to not just go digital by itself, but also take our customers, into the digital realm as well, like digitize or bring digital strategy to the forefront, and take the customers to the digital side or digital area. And what happened is, and then that was a strategy pre-COVID, close to the COVID time, and then when the COVID hit, every company was scrambling, and that was an opportunity for my firm to work very aggressively, with those customers, those uh, who never thought of allowing their workforce to work remote, and also there were services that were running which they don't want to take into the digital side. Um, and we were very aggressive, in that strategy, and alongside with that, Amazon and other cloud providers, they churned out, services very aggressively as well. They, increased their capabilities and, helping the customers, to go digital as fast as possible. Can give you an example. Before pandemic, our ICU Sunday School was all like a regular school that we were having those Sundays classes on site, and kids were coming in on site. Everybody was coming on site, and then soon as the pandemic hit, um, within a matter of days, we were able to switch everything digital. Our classrooms went into Google Classroom. Our teachers, they got their digital, like they were empowered, by our administrator and the team, to start conducting classes, digital. So we did not even skip a single day of our Sunday school, and everything was digital. And we are a very small organization, about, I believe, 200 students we have, that come, regularly to our Sunday school. So this was a small organization's, change. So just imagine, the big organizations, they have to run the business and all that. So uh, just imagine that how fast did they move to keep the business running, and without any disruption or without any interruption. So this pandemic, yes, you're right. It changed the whole, the entire, the ecosystem around the digital. So digital tech strategy was, or digital adaptation was very slowly been adapted by the organizations. And the pandemic, it just fast paced that, like 10x or 100x the speed. And organizations, they just try to move as fast as possible. Okay. Moving on next, so I'm gonna go deep dive here. So like as I mentioned here, if I have this. So on the compute side, so the Amazon offers several services. One of them is the Amazon EC2 service here, and then this is what um, we're gonna be spending. So Amazon EC2 service, we're gonna be spending quite a bit of time on this area. This is the virtual servers in the cloud, or Amazon calls it instances or virtual instance. So we're gonna be building Linux instances and Windows instances, into the cloud. The rest, I am going to, just go in there and, give you guys a brief understanding. Also, this area auto scaling, we're going to be doing, a bunch of labs, in the area as well. Okay, right. So that's the compute side, and on the storage side, so Amazon offers S3, or the simple storage service, which you see here. This is what we're gonna be doing some labs on, plus Amazon EBS, or elastic block storage. We're gonna be doing some labs on this one. We're gonna do some labs on EFS as well. So these are the three major storage areas we're gonna be doing some labs, plus S3 Glacier, which is part of the S3 service. We're gonna go look into that and do the lab work as well. So these are the majority of the things we're gonna be covering from the storage side. From the network and content delivery side, we will go very aggressively on Amazon VPC, Amazon Route 53, which is the domain name system or domain or DNS service. The rest I am going to cover just for you guys to get an understanding. CloudFront, we'll see if time permits. We will do some CloudFront lab as well. But we will do a lab on elastic load balancers. That area we're gonna cover. Security, identity and compliance. We are going to cover quite a bit here. We're going to cover AWS INAM or Identity and Access Management Service. We're going to cover this in our lab. Guard duty will see artifacts, AWS artifacts we're going to see. So this is the security portfolio where Amazon has tons and tons of services. We're gonna see AWS Shield as well. What does it do? AWS Macie service. We're gonna look into AWS WAF service, which is the web application firewall. We're gonna look into that as well. Sort manager. I'm gonna just go over the details on that. Probably will not have time to do the labs on it. But Cloud HSM as well. Sorry, AWS KMS. KMS, we're gonna do one lab on that. And HSM, it requires the hardware module. So I do not have that. Otherwise, I would run the service or run a lab on that for you guys. Database services, we're gonna go very extensive on the AWS database services. Those who have interest in the database side, so we're gonna go look into that. What is Amazon Aurora service, DynamoDB, and RDS service. So these are the ones where for which we're gonna do extensive labs, but the rest of the area, we will have a class dedicated for database services. So 2 hours we're gonna spend aggressively on this database side. Management and governance services, we're gonna look into a couple of things here. We're gonna do the labs on the AWS CloudWatch, top left you are seeing here. AWS auto scaling, we're gonna do some lab here on this one. And CloudFormation, we will cover in our advanced section. We'll see. I mean, if I could, get a time to run a lab for that. Otherwise, I will cover pretty much all those areas to tell you, what each service is about, and how do we get that configured. All right, so let's just roll back to our I think it was slide 5 or 6, where we talk about the traditional data center. And we are going to, so this is the traditional data center area. And okay, and this is our cloud counterpart. On the left hand side, you see that at the very bottom or at the very base, you have the storage and database services. So normally, we have the DAS or direct attached storage, or SAN or storage area network, or the NAS, which is the network attached storage, or the RDBMS, relational database management services. So these are the ones which we normally have on the traditional data centers. They are at the bottom layer where your data reside. Your data reside either on the storage, or it resides on the in your database. So that's why you see it here at the bottom layer. And then a layer on top of it is the server, where you have the on-premise servers. It could be physical server, it could be virtual server. And then on top of it, you see that the networking and the security piece. The networking piece, where you have the routers and switches and access layer, or the network pipes and all that. And then on top of it, you have your security piece, which is the firewalls, the ACL, access control list, and the security administrators, and the security component there. So these are on the left hand side, you are seeing these are all the physical components. Okay. And in the cloud, you have all those services being offered, but they are being offered as a virtual or as a software components. On the bottom side, you are seeing the Amazon services for the storage and the database. EBS, EFS, S3, RDS. Like I said, do not get intimidated by the jargons or by the acronyms which I'm taking here. You will know more, as we proceed along, those specific areas. So these are the virtual or the software-based services that cloud offers. And then, on the server side, you have the Amazon EC2 instances or the virtual machines, Linux or Windows, or now Amazon has offered, Mac OS as well, part of the virtual offering. And then on top of it, you see under the networking section, you are seeing elastic load balancers or ELB, which are the load balancer that balances the load across your servers or your databases or your other services. And then you have the Amazon VPC. VPC stands for Virtual Private Cloud. So you build a virtual cloud or virtual private cloud inside the cloud that has a virtual boundary of the networking. So once we go do the network piece, we will go do the IP addressing, the subnet piece, and how do we carve out the subnet? What is the CIDR notation and all that? So we're gonna talk about those in that class or maybe in two classes. The last one is the security component. So this is also being offered as virtual. So we have security groups, then network ACLs or access control lists or NACLs they call them, and then AWS IAM. So these are these. So right hand side, whatever you're seeing, these are the software or the virtual component of what you see on the left hand side. So that's the capability of cloud that whatever you were getting as a physical component in the traditional data center, you get the same capability, everything same in a as a software or as a virtual component. Maybe on the left hand side, maybe for the router, you might be paying, let's say, $100,000, or maybe on a server you're paying 100,000 or $200,000 on the physical server. But here you're not paying that much. So this left hand piece is about the capex. The right hand piece is about the opex. Opex stands for um, operational expense, which is that you pay for what the service you use. If I am using the let's say RDS service, I'm going to pay for it. If I am not using that service, I'm not going to pay for it. Or I do not have to pay for the other services if I am not using them. So whatever the service I use, I pay for it. If I'm not using it, I'm not going to pay for it. Now the paying model is different. For some services, it is per hour. For some services, it's per minute. And for some services, it is per CPU hour or per gigabyte of storage. So it depends what that service is. So once I go in depth into those services, I will we will see that what is the pricing model of that service, and then we're gonna go look into that as well. This is pretty much the same the continuation of the previous slide, which is AWS core infrastructure. On the infrastructure side, we have the regions and the availability zone, the edge locations, foundation services, compute, network, and storage. And then on top of that, the platform services, database or analytics or app services. And then, on the application tier, you have the virtual desktop or the collaboration suite and sharing. AWS well-architected framework. Let's just pause this for now. I'm going to talk about this in our next class. What is the WAF or the well-architected framework? Because this is a very common question in exam, and also a common question, common interview question as well. What is Amazon's well-architected framework? There are 5 major pillars of that. And Microsoft has the similar approach, and I believe GCP also has the similar approach. They call them the same well-architected framework, these 5 pillars. Then, next 5 slides, I talk about, what are their design principles and, to give you some understanding on those. Amazon gives you some sample projects. You can utilize those sample projects and to build your expertise upon them. Um, okay, so next one is, so before I come to the certification, let me just quickly go to the shared responsibility model as I discussed, earlier. So shared responsibility is up to what point Amazon has the responsibility and then up to what point the customer has the responsibility. So DIY or the personal data center or the corporate data center, here you are responsible for everything from physical layer, physical network, virtual operating system, application data, end to end, everything customer or you are responsible for everything if you have the DIY solution or let's say you have your own data center. Now in the IaaS, if you remember, IaaS stands for infrastructure as a service. So Amazon is responsible for physical layer, the network layer, and the virtualization layer. And then everything on top of it that you build the operating system, you build the application, and you put your data on top of it. This is all your responsibility. Anything below to that is Amazon's responsibility. In the past model, everything at the below, the whatever we have in the IaaS plus the operating system. So up to the OS level is Amazon responsibility, and then on top of it, what application I'm building or what application I have and what data I have, how I'm putting the data, how am I securing the data, that is the responsibility of the customer. So these 2 layers are the customer responsibility. Anything below that is Amazon's responsibility. And the SaaS is pretty much the same that, up to the application layer, it's Amazon's responsibility. And then on top where the data, you are putting the data, that's your responsibility. Similar diagram that gives you some more in depth that Amazon is responsible for their region, availability zone, their edge locations, and then also Amazon is responsible for the compute, physical servers, physical storage, databases, or networking. Amazon is responsible for that, and then anything running on top of it is customer responsibility. One thing you have to remember, and there may be a question or two in the exam about who is responsible of the cloud and who is responsible in the cloud. Amazon is responsible of the cloud, and you are, or the customer is responsible for in the cloud. So just, remember this, off and in, off and in. So Amazon is responsible of, and you are responsible for in the cloud. Okay. All right. Same thing, more elaborate, more diagrams, I have it here for you guys. I know that we are 3 minutes over. If you could give me a couple more minutes, I'm gonna talk about the certification slide. I feel that this is important, and then we can adjourn. Currently, Amazon is offering 4 different levels of certification. The first level, which is not mandatory, the first level of certification is called the foundation certification. Amazon called it cloud practitioner. It is not mandatory or it is not a prerequisite for any of the other areas. You can go directly into the associate level, go do the associate level certification, and then go do the professional level certification. Or you can go do the specialty level certification, or you can go through the path of associate, then professional, and then specialty. You can pick and choose whichever the area you feel comfortable with and you have your interest in. You can pick that, that level of certification and go do that certification. After the end of this class, the very next week, I'm going to be giving you Amazon's white papers and all that, so you could read through. Once you have read through and understood, after the end of this class, after a week, you are good to go for foundation level certification. You can simply write that exam, and I am 90% confident that you will pass that exam. If you have practiced much, and if you follow through whatever I told you, and also the documentation or the white papers which I provide you, if you follow that all or read through all, you are good to go and good to pass that exam. Um, for the solutions architect, whatever the area we're going to cover here, about 70 to 80% it is going to be covered in this class. The remainder of the area, and at the end of the class, I will tell you that these are the areas where I want you to study more, or read more papers, and you are good to go for the solutions architect associate exam. This training is geared toward the solutions architect, or the solution architect side. I am not going to go deep dive into the developer side. I am going to tell you about the sysops side, that what additional things you could focus on, and you could get certified after the solutions architect. So you complete, let's say you did the solutions architect associate, spend at least week or two on additional areas, and you could easily pass the sysops exam. Okay. Now here's the thing. Here's a not a catch, but here's uh, the value proposition of this foundation level certification. You pass Amazon's cloud practitioner certification. I think it's yes, it's $100 exam. You spend $100 on it. You pass the foundation level exam. So this one is foundation level. Sorry, cloud practitioner is $100. Associate level is $150. Professional is $300, and specialty is also $300 per exam. $300. So you pass the cloud practitioner with $100. Soon as you pass the exam, Amazon gives you a voucher for a 50% discount on any next exam that you wanted to take. So this $150 exam will automatically be $75 for you. So with $100 on this exam and $75 on this exam, with $175, you are certified with 2 exams, with 2 of their certifications. Otherwise, if you go individually, it's just only 1 exam is $150. So with $25 extra, you have 2 exams under your belt, or you have 2 certifications under your belt. So I would suggest do not wait. Right after this training ends, the very next week, register for the exam. Let's say for the next weekend, or during the week, whatever the time works for you. Register for the exam and just go sit in the exam. What could be the worst case? That you may not pass the exam, but $100, if you could make that investment, this is an investment into your future. I would highly recommend you to invest in that future. If I receive let's say if I am a hiring manager and I receive 2 resumes, the person who has done these or the person who has a valid certification, I would prefer that person over a person who has 0 certification, because that certification tells me the person has studied and he went through the rigor, or she went through the rigor, and got himself or herself certified for it. Okay, so this is my recommendation to you guys, that soon as the training ends, please register for the exam. Okay, I'm gonna stop recording here, and I am hang out